Hey guys, in today's video I want to talk about the shank. A lot of people come in to see me and have the shank. There's two main drills that I use all the time to fix it for them, and we're going to fix it for you as well. All right guys, let's talk about the shank. So the shank's definitely something that I see a lot with people that come in, both in person or that I would coach online. Before we talk about the two main drills that we use to fix it, let's just go over a little bit of what would cause the shank. With a golf swing, right, there's so many variables involved that it's impossible for me to go over every single variation that could cause it. But there's a couple of things that happen that typically I'd see in 75–80% of the people that we can go over here, and that'll fix the shank for most all of you. So part number one, when we're talking shank, the thing we have to understand is weight in our feet or pressure in our feet and where our body mass is at. So the biggest thing that I see that leads to a shank is an error with people with where their weight goes in their feet, okay? So in a super simple sense, if I were to take my normal setup and the weight was dead middle of my feet and I had that golf ball in the middle of my club, let's just call this all normal, okay? If I made my weight go more towards my toes, so nothing else happened, I go more towards my toes, my club is gonna move which way? It's gonna move that way, which introduces the heel to the golf ball. Can you guys see that happening? Here's my normal setup weight in the middle. Here's my weight going towards my toes. So obviously that makes the club go farther away from me. Anything making the club or the mass of the club go this way is what's typically leading to heel shots, okay? So weight going too far forward towards my toes. Now, how would that happen? Well, that could be you set up too close to the ball, your weight's back on your heels, and you counterbalance toward your toes in swing. That's one thing I'd typically see. You could be in the middle, you go too far forward going back. You could be in the middle going too far forward coming down. So you could go too far forward whenever. There's not one reason why that happens. The point being, at any point in your swing, other than at the setup, I like to have the weight on the balls of the feet, you shouldn't have your weight going more towards your toes at any point in the swing. You shouldn't go more towards your toes. I don't mind if you start on your toes, stay on your toes, but never more towards your toes going back, never more towards your toes coming down. That would kick the center of the mass out too far. Okay, that is typically something along the lines of that. Too much of your mass moving this way, too much weight towards the toes is what would cause shank shots. Certainly there's some things that would pop up where people don't have control of the center of the mass of the club, could be traveling too far inward, working too far out. Obviously me moving the mass of the club more to the right or more out would increase the likelihood of a heel shot. Sometimes I do see the club getting kicked out too far here, people not having control of the center of the mass, but more so than not, it would be a posture piece, weight in the feet, that would cause a shank. Some other little things I see, people typically that tend to get their lead arm way too low during the backswing, then kicks out. I've seen that lead to heel shots as well. So just some things to think about. But drill wise, what can we do? I have two items here. One is a range bucket that we have, and two is a box that I'll put in a minute here. But bucket, basically the deal is this. If I want to quick fix a shank and let you organically get feels, because I don't know where you're going towards the toes or if that's it or not, but regardless, we can use a drill that'll give you feedback. Here's what I do with the bucket. I put the bucket right outside of the golf ball. How far outside? If I put my club down, I've got like, I don't know what that is, a 1/16 of an inch. It's super freaking small. I don't have a lot of room at all. The point is this, if I come down during my downswing, you can get that thing pretty darn close. And I typically hit a shank, which would be my club head, center of mass getting too far outside of the golf ball, I would clip the basket. So I'm gonna hit one here, got the ball lined up right inside of it, and I need to feel whatever I need to feel, okay, to not hit this bucket. We'll go over some of those things in a minute. But I just wanna do a couple little practice swings, and I'm gonna hit a couple golf balls and not hit the bucket. Now that's not a problem for me. I don't shank shots, okay? I actually hit it more towards the toes. This is easier for me, but some of you, this is gonna be very difficult. And because it's very difficult, I want you to go shorter and go slower. So I got a little carried away there. I would probably only hit little chip shots or little half swing shots first. I'm doing this with an 8-iron. I do something similar, short iron, not a 5-iron, no driver with this yet. Short iron first. Even if you shank, like if you hit it way off the heel with just your driver, do it with a short iron first and then work your way back up. Object outside of the ball, start short and slow. I got an 8-iron here. I'd probably do it only about 100 yards in the beginning. And for me, that doesn't feel any different than normal, but for some of you, typically when you go too far out, right, and you hit this thing, so if this thing goes too far to the right, you're gonna run into that bucket, right? And that's the issue here. So bucket right outside of the golf ball would be option number one. Now I have a club box here. My first teacher I ever worked with used to put a shoe box outside of the golf ball, and I know for me, that really cleaned up a lot of stuff, cleaned up my path stuff, cleaned up my centers of contact. It's something I forget about it, to be honest, but it's something that I wish I used a little more in my regular practice. It's really, really good for path too. So same idea would work here. I got this big club box. We got some irons in a couple days ago, and this is a box. Any kind of box outside of it would work. Shoe box, club box. How close do you put it? Well, I'd do roughly the same. I'd put that thing pretty darn close, maybe like a finger or so inside of that, like a 1/16 of an inch. And I'm gonna do the same pieces. I'm gonna hit some shots, and if I, again, got the mass of my club hitting shanks too far out, I would hit the box on the way down. So I would practice this. This one makes me a little more nervous because I go too far inside out, so we'll see if I can not hit it. Since I'm a little nervous, I'll go shorter and slower, like I said to you guys. Okay, so I felt a little something different there. That felt a little bit in my way compared to normal. I'm gonna do another one. And short and slow, 8 irons. When I'm practicing a new move, even myself, I'm hitting 8 or 9 irons like 100 yards. 50% swing length, 50% speed. I'm not going crazy right off the bat, not a full swing certainly, just like you wouldn't do that with any other kind of learning. Okay, so same deal, right? Something outside. If I had here, I'm hitting shanks, I would run into that. Box, shoe box, bucket, same deal. Now, the next piece I want, drill number 2. That was 2 for 1 deal right there. Drill number 2 is more of a feel-based thing, but it turns into a drill. If you guys do your shank shots, okay, during the downswing, I'm saying this club head is moving too far for a right-handed golfer to the right or away from you. A lot of people, the butt of the club to handle their hands are working too far to the right, too far out this way. Certainly, the club head's gonna move to the right some amount during the downswing, but your hands, your handle, the grip, from like down here by your right thigh, needs to work left, okay? Regardless of what shot type you get, you don't want your handle, the grip, your hands, in reality, working too far to the right. That would make the hosel, right, hit the ball. You want your hands to work to the left. Whenever I've had shanks, this has always worked for me very quickly. What is it? It is during your downswing, once you get your club, doesn't be perfect, somewhere by your right thigh, you need to feel your hands, the grip, ripping left. Like I'm talking like hitting yourself in the left thigh on the way through, ripping this thing way up and to the left. Why would you do that? If I took my normal setup and I ripped my grip and my hands up and left, obviously that would make the club comes more towards me, would get the hosel away from the golf ball, right? Is that clear to see? Hopefully, if I move the grip to the left, the club would work left, not to the right, less chance of shank shot. So again, from this side here, I do the same deal. Once I got about here, I feel my hands and my grip ripping left. Like how far left, as far left as you can possibly make it go if you're hitting shank shots. And I used to hit little shots and I do the same thing. So I'm gonna hit a little half shot. I feel the grip in my hands ripping way left past impact. So for me, that's not ideal because I'm pretty neutral. That's kind of overboard. But if you're hitting a shank, that is ideal. Same thing, 100 yards, short and slow. Get that handle ripping to the left. That'll make the club head work left. Less chance of shank shots. You might even hit 1 or 2 off the toe, which is a beautiful problem if you have issues with the shank. Those are the 2 drills that I use in person. They work 90+% of the time. Again, reference your weight in your feet and distance away. Anything overly towards the toe is an issue. Any kind of path that's crazy outside of normal is an issue. You'll fix most of that with just the bucket or the box, but that sensation of everything ripping up and left is gonna get you off the shank. Those are my top 2 drills. I hope that they help. If you guys have any questions, leave us a comment down below.